Okay, hello everybody. Today I'm gonna read You're Human and You, which this title is basically talking to Twilight, I think. Because the description says you end up in a world with ponies treating us as pets, and Twilight is gonna be our pet, our master, whatever, owner. I don't like. Only thing that is just scaring me about this story is gore, because I don't like when MLP and gore mix. It just doesn't work out for me. If I don't like it. Hopefully, it's just like I'm hoping it's nothing too much. I'm guessing, but if it gets that far, I'm probably not gonna read that much into it. Just saying. Alright, I'm gonna read. Hopefully, this video is gonna be prologue, then chapter 1. But God. I got goosebumps, not from the gore, but it's because I was watching a stupid video. It's October for me at the moment. Works out. Alright, prologue. Standing in your grave. Let's hop right into it. The smell of grease filled my nostrils as I leaned over the hot grill. Sweat dripped from my brow as I hurried to remove the finished meat. Placing it in its proper tray. Girl, why are you being rude? Throwing the grease-covered spatula on the top of the grill, I walked over and shoved the meat-filled tray into the heated slot with other meat. After setting the timer, I turned my attention back to the grill. Regular meat is up, I said loudly, trying to be heard over the other noises in the grill area. My manager, Charles, looked back at me from his position at the beginning of the assembly table. "We need more nuggets down, Max," he said. He had a thick Asian accent that made it almost impossible to understand him sometimes. It didn't help that he was also fairly soft-spoken. "They're going down," I said through gritted teeth, trying to clean most of the excess grease off the grill. Giving up on getting the grill clean at the moment, I turned and opened one of the freezers located in the grill area, pulling out 2 bags of nuggets. I tore a hole in the plastic and emptied both bags into a fry basket. I dipped the basket into the fryer and hit the timer. As the chicken nuggets began to cook, I glanced out at the lobby. It was full of customers. The line at the cash registers was wrapping itself around the inside of the restaurant before heading out the door. The line of cars in the drive-thru lanes indicated that they were too similarly packed. As I looked out at the sea of people, I groaned inwardly. "Another typical Friday in hell," I muttered under my breath, wiping my forehead with the back of my arm. I've got an order for 25 cheeseburgers coming up. One of the order... Wait, where am I? Okay, let me say that again. I'm just scrolling. Hold your phone. Okay. I've got an order for 25 cheeseburgers coming up. One of the order takers in the drive-thru yelled, covering her headset's microphone with her hand. The entire kitchen staff, myself included, groaned out loud at that. "You're gonna have to park them," Charles called out before turning back to me. "Max, I need regular meat down right away." "On it," I said, already heading into the proper freezer. Opening the lid, I reached down into the frozen depths, only to find it empty. Cursing, I straightened up. "Charles, we're out of regular meat." He looked back at me and I swore to himself in Korean. Pulling a ring of keys out of his pocket, he tossed them over to me. "Head back to the freezer and grab a case," he growled. I caught the keys deftly. As I hurried out of the grill and towards the back of the store, I heard the order takers call back another big order. "Who the hell orders 17 Big Macs?" I grumbled, picking up... That was 25, okay? I grumbled, picking up the pace. Reaching the freezer door, I began flipping through the keys, looking for the right one. I found the booger, jammed it into the lock, and twisted, yanking the door open. I hurried inside, glancing around. I shivered as the cold air of the freezer hit my skin, freezing the sweat on my arms and face. As my breath fogged the air in front of me, I hurried from box to box, looking for the one that I needed. Locating the required meat, I picked up the box and proceeded to head back out of the freezer. Putting my back to the door, I pushed against my frozen metal. The door swung open and I stepped backwards. "What the fuck?" I cried out in alarm as my foot fell through nothing. It felt as if the floor had just disappeared out from underneath me. Dropping the box on me, I flailed my arms around as I tried to regain my balance. I remained suspended in the air for a brief moment before falling back. There was an immediate flash of blinding light, and I closed my eyes in pain as the light subsided. A burning sensation tore at my throat, causing my eyes to water. I felt like I had eaten a handful of habanero peppers. As I coughed from the burning sensation in my throat, I tumbled through the air, my arms and legs flailing uselessly. I grunted in pain as I landed on my back with a thud, blinking tears from my eyes. I tried desperately to regain my vision, reaching my hand out to push myself up. I felt my fingers slowly sink into something coarse and warm as my sight returned to me. I glanced down. My jaw dropped as I saw that I was currently lying on a pile of sand. Looking around quickly, I saw that I was surrounded by sand as far as the eye could see. Somehow, I had gone from the back of McDonald's to the middle of a fucking desert. What the hell? I said, or at least I tried to say. As I opened my mouth to speak, a spike of pain ran through my throat, causing me to gag slightly. Rubbing my neck with a hand, I swallowed before trying to speak again. I was met with the same result, a spike of pain followed by a dull, burning sensation. For whatever reason, I was now mute as well. Great, now I'm stuck in the middle of a desert and mute? How the fuck did this happen? I thought, holding my head in my hands. My eyes widened suddenly as I realized what I had thought. Wait, I'm stuck in a bloody desert? I stiffened as I realized how screwed I was. I was in the middle of some unknown desert with no food, water, or anything that could be considered useful whatsoever. All I had on me was my work shirt, my McDonald's visor, my car keys, my wallet, which was surprisingly lacking in the money department, and my cell phone. Well, me too, man. We all been there. Trying to make some cash in the real world. Hard as can be. Okay. I facepalmed as I remembered I had my cell phone on me. Dumbass, you have a means to call for help. As I put my iPhone out of my pocket, I gave a silent thanks to Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, and the poor little Chinese kid who had been forced to make it. I may have found myself suddenly mute, but at least I could still send text messages. Turning on my phone, I held it up and waited for it to load. Finally, it fired up and the lock screen flashes across the surface. I glanced at the upper right-hand corner of the screen. I cheered silently as I saw that I had 82% battery life left. I hadn't wasted it playing games before work earlier. Thank God for little miracles. Now let's see if we can get a signal out here. Holding the phone up higher, I watched as the phone searched for a signal. Come on, baby, don't let me down. I continued searching for several more minutes before a message saying, "No signal," appeared on the screen. I stared up at it in horror. No signal? Are you shitting me? God damn it, Verizon, the one time that I actually need you, and you failed me spectacularly. Dejected, I returned my phone to my pocket. As I sat there, depressed, I suddenly became aware of the scorching sun beating down upon me. Sighing heavily, I stood and brushed the sand off my legs. Might as well get moving. Don't want to roast out here. Glancing around, I saw sand, and more sand. There's sand everywhere, in all directions. Not a single sign of life. No animals, no vultures circling in the distance. No rocky outcrops sticking out of the sand. There wasn't even any cacti anywhere. Just sand. Not knowing what else I could do, I picked a direction and started walking. Noises in the background. I'm gonna go on a tangent here. I live in a desert, and I know how drastic that situation would be. But God, I'm not in a no man's land sort of desert. I'm there's houses out here. I live in Arizona. I'm just saying, guys. But fuck, that would be one hell of a situation. Just in the middle of butt fucking nowhere, just sand everywhere. I think that's somewhere in the Salt Flats, to be honest. But fuck. I love the swearing. I'm loving the swearing. This is just making me it makes me feel so fucking great right now. Swearing is dope. Guess you try it sometime, just saying. Alright, there's a little, is this just thoughts, or is it just alright. Don't know, let's just hop back into it. I now know what it feels like to be the meat I cook on the grill. The cruel sun beat down on me as I walked, slowly roasting me alive. I hadn't ever sweated this much before in my life. At least the sweat meant I was still slightly hydrated. I hadn't had anything to drink recently, my last beverage being a Red Bull several hours before ending up in this hellish landscape. That's not healthy, Max. My visor rested low over my eyes. I was trying to protect them from the relentless attack of the sun, but it was pretty much useless. It wasn't even a proper hat. It was basically a thin strip of black fabric with a visor attached to it. I didn't even think that McDonald's thought the hat would be used for anything besides looks when they were designing their uniforms. Well, no shit. Sand continued to fill my shoes. With each step I took, the gritty texture was starting to get very, very uncomfortable. It was almost like I wasn't wearing shoes at all. Oh, enough of this bullshit. Sitting down, I quickly unlaced my shoes, ripping them off of my feet. I held them in my hands, examining them. One question: how are you gonna beat the sand heat, even though it's not really that hot when it's in the sun? Ew! The bottoms of the shoes were coated in a mixture of sand and grease. Trying to swallow down the bile Rising in the back of my throat, I tossed my disgusting shoes as far away from me as possible. It wasn't that big of a loss on my part. They were provided to me by the McDonald's Corporation. My sandy, sweaty socks soon joined the shoes. Standing, I grimaced as the sand shifted between my toes. Grumbling, I tried to ignore the sensation as I continued on my way. Oh God. Oh, yep. He's suddenly pissed, and I love that I'm expressing that right now. Okay. This is like one of those stories I'm just gonna keep like unedited, just cause why not? Well, unedited for like the audio part, where I just say random nonsense because I love it. Have you ever reached the point? Okay, let's hop right back into it. I always say that. Have you ever reached the point where you're pretty sure that you've totally lost? I think I may have passed that point about 3 hours ago. It may have just been the dehydration or my imagination, but I felt like the sun itself was watching me, laughing at my attempts to survive. I put my visor down, lower over my face. I didn't quite feel like I having a staring contest with a big ball of fire in the sky. But you get motivated by that stare, boy. You get motivated because you're fucked if you don't do anything about your situation. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my wallet, turning the black leather object around in my hands. I stared down at it with a black expression. Cracking it open, I glanced into its empty insides. Gritting in annoyance, I closed the wallet and chucked it as far as I could get the fucker to go. It was pretty much useless to me now, as it had only my driver's license and my debit card in it. Besides, I really needed to throw something, and the phone was clearly more valuable. Excuse me? Okay, right now I don't have a license, but fuck, I will treat it like gold, my friend. My wallet, I treat it like gold. Okay? So I'm not sure what the fuck you're talking about. Phone and wallet are basically your golden shit out here. Like your shirts, clothes don't fucking care about. I care about the wallet and the phone. I'm not sure what the fuck you doing throwing your wallet away. Even though you're probably in a different fucking realm or something. Anyways, let's hop back into it. I love tangents. They're fucking great. Anyways, oh God, I'm bored out of my mind. There was nothing to do in this desert except walk. I was possibly in a life-threatening situation, but I needed something to take my mind off what was happening to me. Normally, I would sing to myself, but thanks to my newfound muteness, that was out of the question. If only there was some way to pass the time. Ah, man. I'm loving this whole emotional shit. I stopped, misstep, and face palmed. Of course, I had a way to pass the time. I had an iPhone in my pocket that had over 2,000 songs on it. I wasn't one of those weird people who had over 10,000 songs loaded onto their phone, but I had enough to be satisfactory. Fishing around in my pocket for my new best friend, I pulled out my phone with a smile plastered on my face, already hearing the music in my head. I turned the device on and proceeded to unlock it as I took for the music app. I opened to glance up at the battery icon. 35%? How the hell is that low? Okay, 35%? How the hell is it that low already? I was horrified at the rate I was losing power. It didn't make sense. I hadn't used the phone since I found out there was no signal here. I have the same problem with my phone, technically. Like, I just leave it in my pocket and it just dies. Some bullshit. It doesn't die, but it just loses battery. Like, why? Okay, let's get back to the story. Oh, shit! I cringed as I realized that the phone had been searching for a signal the whole time I had been walking. No wonder the battery had been drained so much. I quickly turned the dying phone off and returned it to my pocket. The smile no longer present on my face. I continued on my way, more sober than I was a few minutes ago. The universe is apparently out to screw me today. As I walked along, the sun continued to watch me, mocking my torment. All I gotta say, this would be fun to animate. I would love somebody to animate this first little section. I could feel my skin slowly beginning to burn as the sun beat down on me relentlessly. I trudged along, dragging my now blistered bare feet through the endless sea of burning sand. I had stopped sweating hours ago, and the inside of my mouth was bone dry. I licked my cracked lips, trying to relieve the pain. I was almost completely out of energy, and I had barely any strength left as I pulled myself up yet another sand dune. The sun was starting to set, casting a blood-red hue across the sand. I had been wandering around the desert for what felt like hours, but I couldn't tell if I had any progress towards finding help. Okay. Contractions, I hate you. No, I must not give up hope. Surely I was nearing some kind of shelter, maybe an oasis or a cave or a sinkhole or something useful. It's gonna be a mirage, boy. I was stopped out of my daze when my foot struck something hard. I cried out as I fell flat on my face, coughing and spitting. I sat up and clawed the sand from my eyes. My toes throbbed in pain. Glancing behind me, I spat more sand from my mouth. What the hell did I drip over? My eyes widened in horror as I saw the culprit. Sticking out of the sand, still covered in a disgusting mixture of sand and grease, were my work shoes. I had tripped over my own goddamn shoes. Despair filled me as I realized that I was back where I had originally started. I was basically going around in circles. My scream of frustration echoed across the barren wasteland, unheard by any living creature. All that I achieved was to sap what little things what little strength I had left. We'll do the same. But I'm pretty sure you were going in a straight line, if I'm not mistaken. The sun was only a few centimeters from the horizon, making my shadow long, unable to muster enough strength to stand. I just sat there with my head in my hands, crying silently, wiping the tears from my eyes. I said heavily, utterly defeated. I was going to die out here in this hellish desert, and there was nothing I could do about it. as the sun drew nearer to the horizon, I simply sat there, alone with my thoughts. I was exhausted, hungry, thirsty, and covered with burns. I was stuck in a desert somewhere with no way of getting any help. I had a phone that didn't have any service, and I was almost dead, as well as a set of car keys to a car that wasn't currently present. I had nothing that could help me in any way possible. I groaned into my hands. I used to be in the Boy Scouts. How the hell was I not prepared for that? Wait, what? I groaned into my hands. I used to be in the Boy Scouts. How the hell was I not prepared for a survival situation? I'm pretty sure Boy Scouts doesn't prepare you for this life-threatening situation, my friend. Pretty sure. Pretty effing sure. Well, in my defense, I don't think we ever covered being magically transported to a different location on any of our scattering events. There you go. You're getting some logic out there. I fell backwards into the sand, staring up at the darkening sky. None of that mattered now. I guess I was going to die out here no matter what, and no one would ever find my body. I sat again, and closing my eyes, I let darkness claim me as the sun finally set beneath the horizon, plunging the desert into night. The end of Chapter 1, or Prologue. It's not Chapter 1, it's the Prologue. Author's note, welcome to the ride. I've been enjoying it, and I'm going to pause my recording right here, so I go take a drink, and I'll see you guys in a bit, or in a second for you. Alright guys, I had a long conversation with my nieces, which was really bothersome at the end of the day. Anyways, I think my breath is out of breath. Not sure why. It's a bit spicy, I can say that. The story's a little bit spicy too, especially with the heat. Anyways, Chapter 1. Descent into Hell. Well, I'm hoping I'm going to try to finish this without breaking or hopefully without pausing my recording. That's the best way I can put it. But I'm gonna go on tangents and stuff. So without further ado, let's hop right into it. I was brought back to the world of the living by someone throwing a bucket of ice water in my face. Sputtering and coughing, I jerked awake, blinking water from my eyes. I looked around trying to get my brain working again. As I wiped water from my face with my hand, I noticed I was no longer in the desert. While I could consider that a very good thing, my new environment was much more intimidating. I was currently in a large dark room that was filled with metal crates and cages. It looked like some form of shipping compartment. The ground I was lying on was metal and cold. I could feel it vibrating softly beneath my body. Whatever this place was, it was moving and fast. I was instantly reminded of a train. Shifting my legs underneath me, I sat up slightly. Upon doing so, I became aware of the fact that I was completely and utterly naked. My uniform was gone, and I was now wearing only my birthday suit. Automatically reaching down, I covered myself with my hands, a blush spreading across my face. Great, I go from frying outside in the desert to being buck naked in a dark, enclosed space. At least I was out of the harsh sun. Even if I had no clue how I got there, I blinked as a thought entered my head, causing me to frown slightly. Am I dead? Did I die? And go to some weird afterlife? Looking around at my surroundings again, my frown had deepened. If that's the case, then the church has some major explaining to do. Because it wasn't that white, fluffy happiness they promised. You go to church, man? That's good to know. I don't go to church for that exact reason. It seems to be slightly disorientated. You would be too if some pony woke you like that. The sound of voices behind me snapped me out of my daze, and I quickly turned towards the noise. Looking around for whoever spoke, my eyes fell, not on another human being, but upon two small horses right behind me. I noticed that one had an empty bucket by its hooves. I found that extremely odd, but pushed the feeling aside. As I looked at them, I felt my frown return. They looked almost like horses, but there was something off about them. To begin with, they weren't very big. At first, I thought they could be foals, but they were actually full-grown. Then I took a closer look. They stood about 4 feet tall from the ground to their heads, and both of their coats were a dark, steely gray color. Their manes a midnight black. They also had an image tattooed onto their flanks. One mirror had a picture of a red horse with thorns, and the other a shiny pearl. Okay. Yeah, eating something spicy before this was a stupid idea. So who are these two? This is my question. Who are these two? Their faces were also off. Their cold, icy blue eyes were seemingly too big for their heads. The entire structure of the face was more akin to that of a human than a horse, but they still looked equine in appearance. I couldn't really explain it very well. It just looked wrong, and the more they stared at me, the weirder I felt. He's better looking than most of the dregs we find wandering the desert, one of the horses said, leaning in towards the other and speaking in a hushed and feminine tone. My eyes went in a shock at that. They're speaking. They're actually talking. As my brain tried to process what I was seeing, the other horse replied, most definitely. As they spoke, they never took their eyes off of me. I just sat there staring at them agape. Talking horses. I'm sitting in a metal room with talking horses. It was official. I was dead, and this was some weird twisted plane of limbo. I opened my mouth to say something to the freaky duo before me, but no sound came out. Instead, pain lanced through my throat, causing me to wince. Great. Apparently my newfound muteness followed me into the afterlife. Just what I fucking need. As I sat there grumbling about my misfortune, one of the horses straightened up and nickered softly. Alright, she said quickly, turning and trotting towards one of the cages. Enough standing around. Let's get him caged up and start with the others. I picked up at that. What? Caged up? Others? What is she talking about? I stared at them in confusion, trying to understand what exactly was going on. My eyes widened in shock as the forehead of the mare standing by the cages started to glow. As light slowly emitted from it, I looked on in awe. Is that a horn? All I gotta say, I'm pretty sure if there's two horses talking, other than the talking part, you would look at you examine them a bit. Pretty sure you would notice a horn. Max, apparently that's your name. I don't like that because one of my friends is called Max, but yeah. Anyways, let's hop back into it. I didn't have long to stare as I was quickly lifted into the air by some unknown force. Struggling in rain. My wrists were quickly bound together by thick strands of rope, and a cloth gag was shoved forcibly into my mouth. Before wrapping tightly around my head, afterwards I was just posited not too gently into an awaiting cage. Question time. Okay, I got one question. If we're unable to speak, what noises would come out of us as human beings? Like, what would come out of us if, like, they gag us up for some stupid reason, other than trying to breathe? Still fighting off the dizziness that accompanied my sudden movement, I felt the cage being lifted into the air. As the cage moved, I tried to reorientate myself into a more comfortable position, but unfortunately, the cage itself was too small. I was now stuck upside down with my ass in the air. Right. There goes the spicy food. Oh, God. The cage dropped to the ground with a loud thud, which caused the entire cage to reverberate as metal hit metal. I grunted in pain as the back of my head slammed into the steel floor of the cage. Once the stars stopped dancing in my vision, I forced my head up slightly and glanced around at my new surroundings. Oh, by the way, guys, I'm sorry if I'm going too fast. Especially now, since I should probably be going slow, since it's like, he's not angry at the world right now. But he's angry at his situation. Talking ponies / horses to him, you know. Treating him some sort of thing, I guess. I was sitting at the end of a row of cages, each one with a human in it. The one right next to me contained a man. His wrists were bound, his mouth gagged, and he was naked as well. Unlike me, however, he was sitting upright. Lucky bastard. I squinted my eyes and took a closer look at him. There was something wrong with the way he looked, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it just yet. Something about the nose, or maybe the eyes. I didn't really care about, though. At that moment, it was just a relief to see another human here beside me, whoever here was. Noises in the background. Shut up, please. I'm trying to record out here. Not out here, but you know, in here. Alright. I'm pretty sure I'm not gonna worry about the noises behind me. Sorry guys if that bothers you, but it's bothering me more than it bothers you probably, so let's just keep going. Looking down the row of cages, I saw that each human was in the same situation, bound, gagged, and naked. Some were just sitting there staring off into the distance. Others were smashing their shoulders up against the bars of the cages, their cries muffled by their gags. It reminded me of something that a feral animal would do when trapped, not an intelligent human. What's going on here? I could see that some of the humans were male and others were female. Wait, female? Naked females? Great, now I'm blushing with my ass in the air. While I was laying there, extremely bothered, another horse entered the compartment and approached the first two. By the look of its build, I would hazard a guess that this one was possibly male. Pearl, Rose, how's our new addition doing? He asked, glancing over at me. Unlike the first two horses, his coat was a deep red, and his mane was black. He stared down at me with cold, icy blue eyes that seemed to freeze my soul. I stared back at him, swallowing thickly through the gag. I don't like where this is going. So far, so good. One of the mares, Rose, if I'm going by the picture of their asses, said, flipping her mane out of her eyes. He didn't attack us on sight, so that's a plus. In fact, he seems kind of docile. He should fetch us a decent price once we reach Canterlot. The other one, Pearl said, leaning down to look in the cage at me. It'll probably help that he's better looking than what we usually find. I just stared up at her with a blank expression, trying to register some of what was just said. Did she just call me a good-looking? Okay, what? Did she just call me good-looking? I didn't know what she was comparing me to, but a looker I ain't. I was that antisocial kid that was getting facial hair and acne in the 5th grade, and it followed me all the way to college. If I'm one of the better looking humans they've seen, then they couldn't have been looking very hard. Well, I can relate to that, but I'm not in college, so they didn't follow me all the way there. It'll follow me all the way to freaking freshman year, I can say that. Okay, no, 8th grade. My acne stopped breaking out in 8th grade. Alright, my gaze... Okay, let's go back into tangents and nonsense that I'm spewing. Let's go. My gaze drifted over to the male human next to me as I mused. I scrunched up my face as I studied his appearance. I'll admit it, he wasn't the best looking bloke I ever seen. But then again, I wasn't one to go around judging others' appearances. Same. He might be considered decent looking to someone. Okay, I was lying through my teeth. He had a face only a mother could love. He was ugly with a capital UGLY. He's also quite muscular, a 4th voice chimed in. By the looks of it, his muscles tone is decent. Turning my gaze away from Mr. Ugly beside me, I glanced around for the source of the new voice. Another mare floated over, hovering in the air thanks to a pair of wings on her sides. I rolled my eyes and groaned slightly. She was a Pegasus. You know what? I'm actually not that surprised anymore. Unicorns and magic and Pegasus. Oh my! Yeah, you shouldn't be. You shouldn't be, sir. Or me, I don't know. Or you at the moment. Speaking about those breaks when I need to stop reading, yeah. Wherever I was, it most certainly wasn't Kansas, or home for that matter. Hell, I don't even think I was on Earth anymore. As the mare approached, I craned my neck to get a good look at her. Her coat and wings were blue, and almost borderline darkish in color, and her mane was yellow. At the Pegasus's words, a round of snickers broke out among the other horses. She huffed and rolled her eyes at her companions with an annoyed expression. What? I like the look of his muscle structure, she said, ruffling her feathers. Yeah, the red unicorn stallion snorted. His laughter hadn't quite met his eyes. I bet you have your eye on one particular muscle. At that, the other two burst into laughter as the Pegasus mare glared at them, blushing heavily. Her wings were starting to stiffen slightly. However, with all my intellect... intellect, that's how you say it. I'm about to say intelligence, but it's intellect. Didn't understand what they meant. One particular muscle, what are they talking? Oh god, my face went bright red and I groaned inwardly as I realized what they were talking about. Anyways, the Pegasus said, flapping her wings to loosen them while she continued to glare at her companions. I came to inform you that the conductor said we'll be arriving at our first stop shortly. Alright, let's start getting ready then, the stallion said, a wicked smile spreading across his muzzle. I felt an icy chill run up my spine, causing me to shiver. I have a really bad feeling about this. I am hoping we get closed sooner. That's what I'm hoping for. 'Cause I don't wanna be running around naked here. It was around 20 minutes before the train came to a stop and things began to happen. At least, I think it was 20 minutes. It's kinda hard to tell when you're locked in a cage with your ass in the air. During that time, several more unicorns had entered the compartment, bringing a crate of materials with them. Placing the crate on the ground, they began walking down the row of cages, taking some humans out of their cages while leaving others alone. Mine was one of the cages they ignored, passing by without even glancing in at me. I wasn't sure if that was a potentially good thing or a bad thing. Grouping the selected humans in the center of the compartment, the unicorns waited until they had all the humans they needed before beginning to herd them out of the room. Any unruly human met the end of a long stick that looked horrifyingly like a cattle prod. When the last of the humans were escorted out of the compartment, the group of unicorns approached the cage next to mine, which contained Mr. Uglyface, ripping his cage open. They put him out with their magic and into the middle of the room. He struggled the entire way, but it was pretty much pointless. I couldn't see no way for him to stop whatever was going to happen to him. I cast a glance at the red unicorn stallion and I felt fear well up inside of me. I swallowed, my throat suddenly very dry. I didn't know what was about to happen. But that look in his icy eyes told me that it wouldn't be good. Depends who buys you, boy. Alright, he said, glancing over the other unicorns. This last one is a special order for one Miss Stardust. Rose walked out of the darkness, a clipboard held aloft in her magic. It says here that she wants him marked, she said. Oh, fuck, that's gotta hurt. She said, consulting the papers on the clipboard with an uninterested air. The way she said marked made me shiver slightly. I could feel my heart rate increase, and I tried desperately to calm myself. I watched as they lowered the poor soul to the floor. Thankfully, due to my position coupled with the lip of the cage, I wasn't able to see what was going on. However, nothing prevented me from hearing it. Oh, okay, I thought that was us. Whew, that's a little bit nice for us to realize that. Oh, fuck. Thought that was gonna be us as the main character. Sorry about the excuse me, guys. You know, sorry about that too. One of the unicorns, a green mare, lifted the lid off the crate they had brought in. Reaching down, she pulled out a short iron pole. There was another piece of metal attached to one end of it, shaped like some sort of hollow star. It looked almost like a branding iron. My eyes widened as I realized what they were about to do. Oh no! Oh no! Oh hell no! I began to struggle weakly against my bindings. Pearl shot me an amused look. The green unicorn's horn glowed brighter, and the end of the brand began to glow white hot. Approaching the prone man just out of my field of vision, she held the branding iron high in her magic. My eyes snapped closed as she lowered the brand quickly, but I could not block out the resulting noise. A horrible hissing noise filled the air, followed by the smell of burning flesh. I muffled. A cry of pain echoed around the compartment as the poor soul tried to scream through his gag. There was another hiss, followed by another scream. I cringed as I realized that they had branded him twice. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're gonna do it on both thighs the way they have their cutie marks. Just saying. Pretty sure they're gonna do that. Oh yeah, just realized, guys. I think my chin has been hitting my mic for some of the things I've been saying. Sorry if that also bothers you. Alright, slowly with great trepidation, I opened my eyes. Other humans around me were silent, huddled in the corners of their cages. Shivering in fear, I could hear the now branded human whimpering quietly, his body still laying just out of my field of vision. This isn't happening, I thought. There's no way this can be real. It has to be a dream, a nightmare, anything but reality. There's no way that this can get any worse. Worse. It can. It really can, to be honest. You know the things we've done to animals? That can happen to us in this reality. I'm guessing, if I'm correct. It also says here that she wants him to be neutered. Rose said, eyes drifting to the bottom of the clipboard, a small smile touching her lips. My last statement was not a challenge. Universe, it was not a challenge. The unicorn mare returned the branding iron to the box before pulling out what appeared to be a small pair of gardening shears. Oh, not that way, please. A small pair of garden shears. As they glinted in the low lighting, I stared in horror. There is no way in hell those should ever be used for neutering anything. Oh shit, they're gardening shears. I immediately shut my eyes again, not wanting to bear any witness to the horrors that were about to take place. I was struggling hard not to vomit with a gag in my mouth. I can relate to that right now. But I'm trying to get my breath back. The sounds of hooves echoed around the compartment, followed by an eerie silence. The tension in the air was so thick you could cut it. Okay, maybe that was a bad choice of words, given the current situation. Yeah, that sure was. I feel bad for him. You know, like, in this reality, they're not even human. They are us, but they're feral. If that makes sense. The silence continued for several more seconds, accompanied by a soft sound of something moving. A small whimper echoed around the room as they moved into a better position. The sound of a metal scraping on metal could be heard as the unicorn opened the shears. I screwed up my face, trying hard to block out the sound, but to no avail. A brief pause followed, then a sudden swish, and I didn't see it happen. I never want to see it happen, but the sounds that echoed around the metal prison as the unicorns forever took away what made that wretched soul a man, followed by that bone-chilling scream, will forever haunt my darkest nightmares. Oh god, man, now somebody's playing music in the freaking background. And screaming. Wow. You can never get a nice night, just silence. Man. Okay, back to the story. It was in that moment that I knew that I had definitely died. Only I wasn't in paradise. Only I wasn't in paradise. Nor was I in limbo. I had died and gone straight to hell. Is this gone to hell? I'm gonna put straight to hell. Oh my god, screaming. There's never a quiet night in this house, just saying. This is why I don't really do these that often nowadays. After they had hauled the poor soul away and finished cleaning up after the procedure, the rest of the unicorns hosed the remainder of us humans down with freezing water. I hardly noticed the temperature, however, as I was still in shock over what had happened. Just the other day, I was at work trying to make enough money to go to college. Now I find myself in a hellish land. What could I have possibly done to deserve this fate? I mean, I didn't live by the Bible, but that doesn't mean I was a jackass either. I agree. I was kind, generous, and polite, only if they deserved it. I treated others with respect and loved my parents deeply. My parents, that was another thing. If I was truly dead, I felt bad that my parents would have to deal with the funeral. No parent should ever have to bury their own child. But on the other hand, what if I hadn't died and was just missing in this strange land? How long would they search for me before they gave up hope? Was I stuck here? Could I ever get back? Could I ever get back home? Home. That was another thing in an endless list of things. This was clearly not Earth, as it was made abundantly clear by the talking horses, magic, and from what behavior I've seen so far, stupid humans. But if this wasn't Earth, then where was here? All these thoughts buzzed through my head All these thoughts buzzed through my head as oh god damn, I can't say it properly. All these thoughts buzzed through my head as tears slowly rolled down my face. The train lurched into motion and continued on its way. You need to start taking breaths after those periods, boy. But you know, I just want to keep going. For as long as I can. For the next several days, the same thing would happen over and over again. The train would stop at some unknown location, and the unicorns would return and choose a handful of humans before escorting them away. It was always the same group of unicorns too. This caused me to believe that they were all probably a part of a larger group of horses that captured and sold humans. Some of the humans would require branding, and others would require to be neutered or spayed. I'm not even going to go into the details of that particular process, but believe me, it was not pretty. The unicorns would sometimes bring more humans on as well, stuffing them into the many empty cages that were stacked in the compartment. It might have been luck or not, but they never bothered me during these events. It seemed that they had other plans for me. What those plans were, I had no idea, but I was not looking forward to them. Burping, excuse me. After completing the procedure, the unicorns would then hose all the remaining humans down with a blast of frozen water, and the train would be on its way again. At first, I didn't understand why they were spraying us with the icy water, but after a few days, I finally understood. Let's just say that it had something to do with the fact that there was no bathrooms in the cages. At least I had the common sense to do my business in the corner of my cage, having thankfully managed to right myself. Most of the other humans, however, just did their business on themselves. Each time I saw this, I shuddered and cringed in disgust. Am I really the smartest human here? Most likely, like I mentioned before, they're probably all feral little creatures, not human in their own right, technically. The horses fed us once, or technically they're cavemen. The horses fed us once a day, if you were lucky. At least, I think it was once a day. It was hard to tell when there was no accurate way to determine if it was night or day. I spent most of my time deep in thought, or sleeping. So I had a long since lost sense of time. The meal consisted of half a piece of slightly moldy bread, as well as a few mouthfuls of water. The lack of nutrition hit me hard for the first couple of days. My stomach swelled up due to the lack of food, and by the 6th day, I was losing weight quickly. That's nice, at least. One question I have, do they ungag you guys, or do you just not have the gag when you're caged up? Because I'm pretty sure you guys do have the gags on. It was after the 8th day that I began to feel extremely weak. I started having small fits of dizziness, and I would sometimes black out for short periods. I needed something to eat. My stomach was constantly growling at me, threatening to start consuming itself. It wasn't all bad, however, at least my burns from the dessert were slowly starting to heal. The horses left us alone for the most part, outside of the feedings, unloading and unloading the humans. Even so, I only saw that first 4 horses I had met whenever we were moving. The others would only appear when it was time to unload the next batch of humans. So we got a loading crew and an unloading crew. Okay. I'm out of breath. Like, I do take your guys' tips sometimes, but you know, this is a story like I want to just see where it ends up. 69 chapters. This is gonna be an interesting journey for me. The two female unicorns, both of whom I had learned through eavesdropping, were twin sisters, and the red unicorn stallion intended to just make sure that we were fed and clean. Other than that, they were pretty much left us to our own devices. There were 1 or 2 odd instances when one of the sisters would pull a human male out of his cage and carry him off somewhere for several hours before returning him to his cage. The human always looked exhausted afterwards, and I tried hard not to think about what was happening when they were gone. Luckily, they never showed real interest in me, or if they did, they hid it well. The blue Pegasus mare, on the other hand, seemed to take a special interest in me since I had first arrived. She had spent more time around me than any other human. In between feedings and the exoduses, she would just rest upon the top of my cage. As she sat there, she would chat with me. The entire conversation was one-sided, but she didn't seem to care as she talked. She would use the same tone of voice and mannerisms as humans back home would with a cow or a horse. We have mannerisms for that? a cow or a horse. Not only was this slightly calming, it also pretty much confirmed that the humans on this world were no more than animals to these horses. Or sex toys, apparently. Guessing from the red mirror. Okay. I also didn't mind the conversation so much as it gave me a chance to study her up close. Her coat was a lovely shade of blue, almost a mix of cyan and sky blue. It had a soft texture to it, very similar to horses back home, only softer. I had startled her when I had first reached through the bars to stroke her, but when she saw I wasn't going to hurt her, she had let me run my fingers through her coat. She seemed to enjoy the feeling immensely because it soon became routine. She would fly down onto my cage, I would reach up and give her a quick scratch, and she would talk to me about random stuff. She also had one of those weird tattoos on both of her flanks. It appeared to be a sun, hidden partly behind several wispy clouds. Ran my fingers over it, and I found that it had the same texture as the fur around it. It appeared that the only difference between the mark and the rest of her body was the color. Can't say color. What the tattoo signified, or how she actually got it, I had no clue, but it didn't look kind of cool. The way it blended perfectly into the blue fur on her flank was almost hypnotic. All I'm saying, once they sold, they better get clothes on them. Just saying. Her mane and tail were a bright yellow color. They both had a kind of wet tossed look to them, tangling and swirling around her head and shoulders. In fact, it looked like she hadn't touched a brush or comb in days. She probably didn't mess with them, much as her mane would just become messy again the next time she was flying through the air. Her eyes were a bright violet color and appeared to glow slightly even in the dimmest of lights. They seemed to glimmer and sparkle as she talked. Is that a reference? No, this is 2013 when this first started. I feel like that's a reference though. A smile on her face, all things considered, she was actually very pretty as far as talking horses went. Hit the mic, sorry if that was a bit loud. As far as talking horses went, you're in a different world, son. You gotta adapt to this shit. Even though there's other females, but you know, they aren't actually like intelligent in that case. It was through these conversations that I learned the Pegasus mare's name was Sunny Breeze, but most of her friends called her Sunny. She had been the one who had found me passed out in the desert when she was out scouting for more humans in the earlier hours of the morning. Before the sun had risen, she had then carried me back to her benefactors, the Red Stallion and the twins. As the days went on, I soon realized that Sunny appeared to be very taken with me, which was fine with me because she would snake me extra pieces of bread. On rare occasions, she also managed to get me small pieces of apple when no one was looking. If it wasn't for her help or the company she provided, I would have gone crazy aboard that horrid train. Yeah, nowadays we're social. We're social creatures. We need a conversation to keep us sane, you know? That's how we survive nowadays. Alright. Last couple of sentences, paragraphs, whatever you call these, don't really know right now. It had been around 2 weeks since I was brought aboard the train by Sunny. When we finally reached our final destination, I was awoken from a dreamless sleep by the sounds of doors opening and closing. I was dimly aware that the floor wasn't vibrating anymore. It took me a second to realize that meant the train had come to a stop somewhere. I sat up and wiped the sleep from my eyes with my bound hands. As I did so, the sound of multiple hooves drew nearer. Curious, I turned my head, searching for the source. I watched as 20 or so unicorns entered the compartment. They were a mixture of the usual gang, with a few new faces mixed in. They began to open the cages one by one and herded the humans out. They were taking everyone. Most of the humans struggled against their bindings, but were quickly silenced by a prod from a taser stick. There was a small handful of humans, however, that went willingly. When the unicorns finally reached my cage, I was ready for them. They opened the door, and I hurried out and joined the rest of the humans. I might not like how we were being treated, but I was not about to get shocked by the horses. I figured that if I behaved well, they shouldn't have a reason to hurt me, right? As we waited for the other humans to join the herd, I stretched, groaning as my limbs cracked and popped. It felt good to be able to stand and walk again after spending 2 weeks stuck in that small cage. My hands were still bound, but at least my gag had been removed. Suddenly I determined that I did not need it, and was convinced that I was going to bite I wasn't going to bite anyone. I was not about to prove her wrong. Speaking of the mirror, I thought, looking around the compartment quickly, I spied her hovering near the ceiling, eyes scanning the crowd of humans as she kept a close eye on them. Her eyes fell upon me, and a small smile touched her face before her gaze moved on. Eventually, the unicorns finally gathered all the humans into the center of the compartment. They hosed us all down one last time. I shivered as the freezing water washed over me, shaking the water off of me. I spat out some of the liquid that had gotten into my mouth. Once the unicorns were satisfied with how we looked, they hit us with a blast of warm air from their horns, drying us instantly. Once that was over, they herded us forward out of the compartment and into the blinding light of day. The end. Alright, that is 45 minutes. What the okay. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed. I'm a little bit voiceless, I guess, and I'm a little bit annoyed because every time I try to read a fic, since my setup is now upstairs, there's always noises up here. It bothers me. These walls are as thin as ice. I can tell you that. Anyways, oh man, that's interesting. Alright, another thing I don't want to see is like a pony or a human decomposing right now. Like, when it says gore, I'm like, what does that entail? Like, I always don't like seeing tag gore in fics because it bothers me. Anyways, guys, thank you all for listening, doing whatever the heck you guys do, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.
100,000 stories have filled my head as I look for the answers in what I've read.